Listen, I've been cataloging ancient artifacts for the Galactic Historical Society for 300 cycles now, and I thought I'd seen everything. Every cursed weapon, every apocalyptic device, every nightmare fuel piece of technology that made our ancestors wet themselves in terror. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for the day we unearthed the helmet. My name is Vorpal, senior xenoarchaeologist and professional pessimist. The dig site was on Kepler 9, a dead rock that used to be a thriving colony before the Silence Wars. You know, that little conflict that wiped out 17 civilizations and left half the galaxy speaking in hushed whispers for 2 generations? Yeah, that war. My assistant, a 4-armed Quellic named Brinks, had been excavating the site for weeks. Standard procedure: scan, catalog, don't touch anything that glows. Simple rules that keep you alive in this business. But then she found it. The thing was buried 40 meters down, encased in what looked like compressed starship hull material and locked inside a containment field that was still active after 12,000 years. Vorpal, you need to see this, Brinks called out, her voice shaking like a leaf in a hurricane. The energy signature matches the database. I climbed down into the pit, every instinct screaming at me to run the other direction. The containment field hummed with a frequency that made my teeth ache. Inside, barely visible through the distortion, was a helmet. But not just any helmet. The helmet. The one from the legends. The one worn by the first destroyer during the purge of the outer reaches. Sacred void, I whispered, feeling my 3 hearts skip several beats. Brinks, start the emergency protocols. Contact the council immediately. We need a full military quarantine. The helmet was matte black, angular, with a design that looked both ancient and somehow more advanced than anything we currently had. Scorch marks covered its surface, and if you looked closely, really closely, you could see tally marks etched into the metal. Thousands of them. Each one supposedly representing a ship destroyed, a world conquered, a species brought to its knees. According to the legends, the first destroyer had appeared out of nowhere 12 millennia ago. No warning, no demands, no communication. Just destruction on a scale that made supernovas look like birthday candles. 7 major empires fell in a single cycle. The being wore this helmet, wielded weapons that defied physics, and moved through space like a vengeful god. Then, just as mysteriously, they vanished. The helmet was all that remained, supposedly lost when the destroyer's ship was caught in a stellar collapse. Historians had spent thousands of years debating whether the destroyer was real or just a collective trauma response to some natural disaster. Guess we had our answer now. The council arrived within hours, which tells you how seriously they took this. Admiral Kessex, a grizzled Vordanian with more scars than scales, took one look at the helmet and immediately ordered everyone back 50 meters. Standard fear response. I respected that. Fear keeps you alive. How stable is the containment field? Kessex asked, her voice clipped and professional. Degrading, I replied, checking my scanner. I give it maybe 3 days before it collapses completely. After that, anyone's guess what happens. Then we extract it now. Get it to a secure facility before. That's when the humans showed up. Now, humans were relatively new to the galactic community. Only been spacefaring for a couple hundred years, still figuring out which end of a plasma rifle not to point at themselves. Nice enough species, bit aggressive, terrible sense of self-preservation. They had this annoying habit of treating obviously dangerous situations like mild inconveniences. This particular human was named Marcus Hill, part of some Earth diplomatic corps or research team or whatever excuse humans used to stick their noses where they didn't belong. Tall, dark-skinned, with those expressive features humans have that make them so easy to read and so terrible at poker. He walked right past the security cordon like it was a suggestion, not a military order. 3 guards tried to stop him. He smiled at them, smiled, and kept walking. There's something deeply wrong with a species that grins when surrounded by armed soldiers. Excuse me, Kessex barked, this is a restricted zone. Leave immediately or face detention. Marcus ignored her completely. He was staring at the helmet with this expression I couldn't quite place. Not fear, not awe, something else. Recognition maybe? His eyes went wide, then he started laughing. Actually laughing, hands on his knees, tears streaming down his face. You have got to be kidding me, he managed between gasps. Oh, this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect. Human, I said carefully, do you understand what that is? That helmet belonged to the first destroyer. The being that nearly ended all sentient life in this sector. Marcus wiped his eyes, still chuckling. Yeah, about that. Quick question. Did your legends mention the destroyer's species? We all looked at each other. The historical records were frustratingly vague on that point. Mostly because anyone who got close enough to identify the destroyer didn't survive to file a report. No, Admiral Kessex admitted. The species was never confirmed. Marcus grinned wider. Well, that explains a lot, actually. He walked right up to the containment field, and before anyone could stop him, placed his hand on the control panel. The field recognized his biosignature immediately and dissolved like morning fog. Every weapon on site immediately pointed at Marcus. He didn't seem to notice or care. He just reached in, picked up the helmet like it was a hat he'd left at a friend's house, and turned it over in his hands. Oh hell, Marcus said, still grinning that terrifying human grin. That's Mom's old helmet. Hashtag they found a relic of the first destroyer, Human said. Oh hell, that's Mom's old helmet. The silence that followed Marcus's statement was the kind of silence you experience right before a planetary core decides to explode. Heavy, oppressive, and filled with the promise of imminent disaster. 30 armed guards, 2 admirals, 5 xenoarchaeologists, and myself, all staring at this human holding the most terrifying artifact in galactic history like it was a souvenir from a gift shop. Your mother. I finally managed to croak out, my voice somewhere between a whisper and a scream. Your mother was the first destroyer? The being that obliterated 17 civilizations and made the Void Lords themselves retreat in terror? Marcus looked up from examining the helmet, genuine confusion on his face. Wait, 17? No, that can't be right. Mom only deployed to 12 systems. Are you guys counting the automated defense platforms as civilizations? Because that's kind of a stretch, don't you think? Admiral Kessex made a sound like a deflating balloon. Automated defense platforms? Those were the Corthian Empire's planetary shield network. Each node had a crew of 10,000. Huh, Marcus said, scratching his head. Yeah, that tracks actually. Mom always said the mission parameters were unclear. Communication issues, translator malfunctions, bureaucratic nightmares. You know how it is. No, actually, I did not know how it is. I did not know how you accidentally genocide multiple species because of a communication error. That seemed like the kind of thing you'd want to double-check before pulling the trigger, but apparently human military doctrine differed from the rest of the galaxy on that particular point. Explain, Kessex demanded, her scales rippling with barely contained rage or terror, possibly both. Explain right now how your mother, a human, was the first destroyer, when your species only achieved faster than light travel 2 centuries ago. Marcus set the helmet down gently and pulled out one of those primitive human data tablets. He tapped at it for a moment, then turned it to face us. On the screen was an image of a human female in military dress, standing next to what looked like a younger version of Marcus. She was smiling. The destroyer, the nightmare that haunted our history books, was smiling in a family photograph. Mom was part of Earth's first deep space exploration program, Marcus explained, his tone shifting to something more serious. This was about 12,000 years ago, your time. Humans had figured out a prototype faster than light drive, but it was experimental. Unstable. The temporal mechanics were screwy. Temporal mechanics, Brinks repeated weakly. You're saying time travel. More like time dilation on steroids mixed with dimensional displacement, Marcus corrected. The ship was supposed to be gone for 2 years, Earth time. Instead, they got thrown 12,000 years into the past and about 15,000 light-years off course. No way home, no support, and critically, no working translator matrix. The pieces were starting to fall into place, and I desperately wished they weren't. So when your mother encountered the other civilizations, I said slowly, she couldn't communicate with them. Right, Marcus confirmed. And according to her mission logs, which by the way are now declassified since she passed away last year, Earth time, every single one of those encounters started with the locals opening fire on her ship. Probably thought she was some kind of invasion force. Which, fair enough, the ship looked pretty intimidating. So she defended herself, I said, feeling a headache forming behind my eyes. By destroying entire planetary systems. Mom was a tactical officer, Marcus said with a shrug that seemed entirely too casual for the conversation we were having. When someone shoots at you with weapons designed to crack moons, you respond with appropriate force. She disabled their military capabilities, established defensive perimeters, and tried repeatedly to initiate peaceful contact. The civilizations kept attacking. Eventually, she gave up trying to make friends and focused on survival. Admiral Kessex was making calculations on her own tablet, her expression growing more disturbed by the second. The timeline matches. The appearance of the destroyer coincides with your mother's displacement. The attack stopped roughly 2 Earth years later. Yeah, Mom and her crew finally figured out how to repair the drive, Marcus explained. They jumped back to Earth, arrived about 6 months after they'd left from their perspective. Took them a while to realize they'd accidentally become legends in the future. The Earth military sealed the records, classified the whole mission as a temporal anomaly, and moved on. Mom retired, became a school teacher, raised 3 kids, and lived a pretty normal life until cancer got her last spring. A school teacher, I repeated numbly. The first destroyer became a school teacher. 5th grade, Marcus said proudly. Best teacher in the district, 3 years running. She taught Earth history, which is kind of ironic when you think about it. Brinks was sitting on the ground now, all 4 arms wrapped around her knees, rocking back and forth. This can't be real. This can't be happening. The first destroyer was a human. Humans are friendly. Humans bring us coffee and tell jokes and trip over their own feet in low gravity. Humans don't obliterate civilizations. Well, Marcus said thoughtfully, we try not to. But Mom always said that if you corner a human and threaten their survival, you'd better be prepared for the consequences. We're persistence hunters by nature. Patient, adaptable, and really, really stubborn about staying alive. I looked at the helmet again, seeing it in a new light. The tally marks weren't victories celebrated. They were regrets counted. A memorial to lives taken in self-defense, carried by a soldier who never wanted to fight in the first place. Why are you here? I asked Marcus quietly. Why come to this dig site? Earth monitoring systems picked up the energy signature when you activated your scanners, Marcus replied. Command asked me to retrieve the helmet before it caused an interstellar incident. Figured I'd claim it as family property, bring it home, put it on Mom's memorial shelf next to her teaching awards and that macaroni art I made in 2nd grade. He paused, looking at each of us in turn. Also wanted to set the record straight. Mom wasn't a monster. She was a soldier doing her best in an impossible situation. She carried the guilt of those deaths for 70 years. Never forgave herself, even though any court would have called it justified self-defense. Admiral Kessex lowered her weapon slowly. The Council will want to verify this story. Already transmitted all the declassified files to your ship, Marcus said cheerfully. Mission logs, sensor data, personal journals, the works. You'll find that Mom tried to surrender peacefully 17 times before firing a single shot. Your ancestors just couldn't understand what she was saying. I watched as Marcus carefully wrapped the helmet in some kind of human preservation cloth. The artifact that had defined an age of terror, that had shaped the political landscape of the entire sector, that had given me nightmares since I was a juvenile, was going home. To be displayed next to children's artwork and teaching awards. Marcus, I said as he prepared to leave, do humans have any other experimental time ships we should know about? He flashed that terrifying human grin again. Classified. But hey, if you find any more mysterious ancient artifacts that nearly destroyed the galaxy, give Earth a call first. Might save everyone some trouble. And with that, he walked away, carrying his mother's helmet under one arm like it weighed nothing at all. Which, considering human gravity standards, it probably didn't. Brinks looked up at me with all four eyes wide. Vorpal, I'm requesting a transfer. Preferably to a nice quiet archive posting where the most dangerous thing I'll encounter is paper cuts. Denied, I said tiredly. If humans are going to keep accidentally time traveling and becoming legendary destroyers, someone needs to catalog this mess. Might as well be us. Behind us, the excavation site suddenly seemed a lot less intimidating. After all, the worst it could do was kill us. It couldn't give us an existential crisis about the nature of historical record-keeping and the importance of functional translation software. Humans, I decided, were going to give the entire galaxy gray hairs. Or whatever equivalent our various species had. The first destroyer wasn't some unstoppable alien force. It was someone's mom, trying to get home for dinner. The galaxy, I realized, was going to need therapy. Lots and lots of therapy.